Good morning. Today is Friday, April the 30th. This is John Richardson. I am speaking with you from Toronto, Canada. Or should I say good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on where you are. This is my latest podcast in my ongoing series of podcasts for the American Expat Financial News Journal. Today, an incredibly interesting and increasingly well-known guest. My guest is Ronald Ariës, who's a retired Dutch airline pilot who, as many of you will already know from the American Expat Financial Journal, he grew up with Dutch parents in the Netherlands. As many of you will also know, he recently took his fight to be allowed to keep his Dutch bank account. Think of that, to keep his Dutch bank account without being forced to agree to US demands that he acknowledge what it regards as his American citizenship to the European Parliament. This is where he's taking us with its Committee on Petitions, etc. Now, this is an absolutely amazing story. And it's amazing on a personal level. It's amazing on a legal level. It's amazing on what I would call a sociological or cultural level. But what we have in a nutshell is a situation where a Dutch citizen who's lived his whole life there, with one exception, the beginning of his life, he was born in the United States. And for that reason, and that reason alone, the government of the United States of America is claiming that he's somehow a US tax subject. And because of Fatca, he's been under pressure to get a US Social Security number. In other words, to acknowledge and agree to his USness, and presumably enter the US financial system. Now, he has basically taken the fight to the Dutch government, who has basically washed its hands of this and sided with the whole Fatca regime, and as I understand it, affirmed that he is indeed, by virtue only of his birth in the United States, required to get a US Social Security number should he wish to keep his bank account in his home country. Now, let me pause. Welcome, Ronald. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you agree in a general sense, we'll get into the details, with the accuracy of my summary to start this out?
Yeah, I agree. It's totally correct.
Well, let's go back to the beginning, 1958. Different time, different world. Even in the last century, how is it that you happen to have been born in the United States?
As I can recall, it's only by pictures from the books, the photo books of my parents. And if I look at these pictures, my father was proud that he could represent the Dutch government, the Dutch, as an Air Force pilot. He was detached in New Jersey in Fort Monmouth. And my mother, she was already pregnant of me. And she said, okay, she was allowed to join my father over there. That was very nice of our Dutch government. I was born over there in Fort Monmouth. So I was born in a military fort, so that's why maybe I'm totally drilled, I don't know, to do the things right. And then at the age of 1, I also have one older brother, and he was also there in the United States. We traveled back to Holland. That was for me the first time to set foot in Holland. That was by boat. I like the pictures, on the Holland-America line. Beautiful pictures, with my mother also and my father on the boat. And yeah, as I told you, if I look back on the pictures there, I see my father and mother very happily. Unfortunately, they're both passed away now. And I was thinking, okay, I was born in the United States. I thought as a youngster, it's cool. And I didn't mind until about 3 years ago. what happened then? I said, suddenly, when I changed, again, maybe it goes too quick. I had to change my banks because first I was banking at a bank called Van Lanschot Bankers in Holland. And they asked me if I could do investments with them. I said no, because I was also, and I come back to that later, I was also taking care of my mother's funds because she had a dementia. So I went also to court to get all the approvals that I could take care of her. And I said, no, I already had all her money on Frits van Lanschot bankers, and they roamed off a lot of money of that. So I said, no, I'm not going to invest with you anymore. Okay, they said, we understand. However, then we cannot keep you as a normal customer anymore. So I had to look for another bank. And since my wife, my partner, she came from a little village in the south, the province South Holland. She knew there a lady. She was running as a branch manager of the Regiobank, which is a part of the Volksbank. I said, okay, we go over there. We just were also about to move our house to the east in Holland. And then maybe we can also arrange a little mortgage I still needed to buy this house. So it was very nice. And we had a lot of laughs, we had some coffee. And we signed the papers, it was necessary. She took the copy of my Dutch passport. Nothing was the problem. So we went home. And after a couple of days, about 2 or 3 days later, I looked in the mailbox and I found a big envelope of the Regiobank. I had to fill in a lot of paperwork, stating because they saw that I was born in the United States in 4 months, that I could be a US person, if that was correct. It's okay, yeah, I was born over there. So I had to fill in the paperwork, and of course I didn't know how to do it, so I called the branch manager. So what shall I do? No, she helped me with filling in the paperwork and said, okay, this should be okay. And one of the things was the question I had to fill in: are you, besides the Netherlands, also tax resident in another country? Yes or no? Now, if I ask anybody in Holland, he says, you live here, you pay taxes over here, you go to the hospital over here, you have your telephone here, you have everything here. So no, you're not tax resident in the United States, you're tax resident only in Holland. So I fill in no. And there was also probably better than I do, W9 form attached to it. And they gave it to me as a kind of application form to ask for an SSN number, which is not a correct form for me to go to the IRS for requesting the SSN number. Now, I said, I asked again the branch manager, what shall I fill in? And then she said, just fill in that you are going to request an SSN number. Then so, okay, you get your bank accounts, nothing to worry about. Okay, I did it. 3 months later, I got a letter from the Regiobank again. Listen, you still have to get, we're still missing your SSN number. So you have to fill in, you give us the number, otherwise we're gonna close your bank accounts. So I called this, what is this? So I called the head office in the Regiobank in Utrecht, explaining them. I said, what's the problem? And I got a very nice lady. She said, yeah, I understand. And she would tick the box on the right spot. I said, no, you have no worries anymore because we won't contact you any longer. Okay. Another 3 months passed by, and another letter came. But it became more and more threatened. Listen, we have to get a number now, or we will close your bank accounts. Now, this is not possible. What's happening? Then I start looking into Fatca. What is in fact Fatca? What is that doing to me? What I have to do with United States tax regulations like Fatca? I live here in Holland. I work here. I'm now retired, and I pay taxes over here. So what is another country?
Well, can I just ask you, just to pause for 1 second here? So, you know, your ties to the Netherlands are very clear, but just to confirm here, have you ever worked in the United States?
Never, no.
Have you ever received any income whatsoever from the United States?
No, I got nothing from the United States. So the only thing that I have a remembrance as a baby, as on pictures, that I was born in the United States.
So you saw some pictures that suggested that you may have been born in the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, your parents, when you were born in the United States, your parents were not legal permanent residents of the United States, were they? They were just sort of there temporarily. Is that right?
Yeah. In fact, the total, my father was there for not more than 2 years. I think it's even less.
And he was there for some kind of flight training.
No, he was there because of the Starfighter project. He was to help there and also to give some training and get some training for the project. So.
Okay. All right. So not only have you never had any connection with the United States, but your parents had no green card or legal resident status in the United States either.
No, I don't know, because they already passed away before the whole Fatca thing came knowledge to me. So I don't know if they had a green card, but I don't think my father needed a green card at the time, because he was, it's by government to government, like the military.
Sort of a government to government exchange. But in any case, whether he had any right to live in the United States or not, from the point of view of your parents, the stay in the United States was intended to be temporary and only for this specific purpose, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
All right. So to be clear then, this is a situation where the only connection to the United States, which you by definition can't even remember, was because you were born on US soil, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And simply because you were born on US soil with no other connection to the United States, your bank was telling you that you had to effectively get a US Social Security number for the purpose of entering the US tax system. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Unbelievable. Shocking. Okay. Well, I can certainly understand why that would upset you. My God, if you're like most people, you find it upsetting enough just to be a tax resident of where you do live, let alone another country. And just, can I ask you, your country, it has high taxes, doesn't it?
The taxes are much higher, like say income tax in Holland is much higher than the United States. But the thing is that they're always talking about double taxation. Now I found out that just give it another name. In fact, it's still the same taxation, but still you give it another name, so it's not the same. So we have to tax double.
You have what?
You have to tax double. Like my when I told you that I just moved the house and I just bought this house, and then I found out that you had to I think it's a capital gain on selling your house, which I bought in Holland with Dutch guilders at the time. It's now euros. I paid all the things I bought for the house. I paid tax about it, and now suddenly the United States come, hey, you have to pay at least 20%. I don't know exactly how much the amount will be over the profit you made on selling your house.
So wait a minute now. You're telling me, if I'm understanding you correctly, the way taxes work in your country is that you could sell your house and not pay a capital gains tax. Is that correct?
That's correct. What is common in Holland is that a lot of people will sell their house and use it as a kind of retirement.
Yeah, that same thing in Canada.
Pension.
Same thing in Canada. But because and only because you were born in the United States, these tax laws would apply to you, so that you, as a Dutch resident who's doing financial planning there with money earned only there, somehow are not allowed to use your house as a retirement planning asset the way your friends and neighbors are. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Shocking. And only because you were born in the United States, no other reason.
It's not even that. It's also there are people born in Holland, but from an American parent, and these people are still hiding because you cannot trace them easily. I found out already. I know a couple, and they say, listen, I am also a US person because my father or my mother is an American, but they're born in the Netherlands. So what is in their passport, you can see this is your name, and this is where you were born, and this is where you live. In my passport, unfortunately, says I was born in Fort Monmouth in the USA. So now
So
they have me.
in other words, it gets even more absurd. So some of these people with this, so this U.S. imposed citizenship type of thing, basically are not affected by this only because they were born to a U.S. citizen parent.
Yeah.
But you're affected by it because you were born actually on U.S. soil.
Yeah. So in fact, there are two groups like me. I know. Also, I talked to an elderly lady. Her father was a Marine officer. She is much older than I am, and in that time, when I was in the newspaper, because I was so angry, annoyed with this, and so surprised at what happened to me. So I go to the media and say, listen, this is a story. This is what happens. And then in that weekend, my telephone went bizarre. I got phone calls. I got emails from people. They looked me up and say, okay, I have the same problem, but they're afraid. They're just yeah, putting the head down, and as long as they don't see me, I keep out of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think then that elderly lady I found, she was not able to speak about it because she was so upset. She couldn't even speak English. Then I talked to her husband and said, yeah, she is so upset. And you know what happened? He told me that she would, they had a wish that we would be dead before this came out. And at
Sorry,
that point,
can you repeat that? She wished that what?
that she would be dead. Really dead before this will come out, the Fatca. What's going to happen to them? And when I heard that, I cried. I said, listen, I have to take it up because this is not human anymore. What's happening to these people? I'm a fighter, like a pilot. If something breaks down from my aircraft, I will go to the end. Try to save the aircraft, try to save the passengers. And now I try to save all these people here in Holland and maybe also in Europe. What's happening to them? Because a lot of people don't speak the language. Yeah, they're Dutch, nothing more. They're Europeans.
Exactly. They are Europeans. They are citizens and taxpayers of European countries.
Yeah.
And so what's happening here is the United States is saying effectively this, that we are going to use Fatca to lay claim to people who are tax residents of other countries, and we are going to claim them as our taxpayers.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But what I said about my house, it was because I was so upset, and then I was interviewed by a radio station, and I said, yeah, I'm afraid to pay tax about my gain profit on my house. Now that being like a boomerang back to me, because they use it every time that I was not going to pay tax about it. But I found out that there's a kind of amount which is free after you lived so many years. So I had all the receipts what I put in my house, and I paid. Fortunately, I did that. I'm a kind of, I think, nerd about that. So I figured out, listen, I'm gonna sit down and we'll write down all the figures, and I count out, did I make so much profit? Now I didn't. Fortunately, I didn't make so much profit, so I had to pay tax. So I don't have to pay capital gain. But imagine you have to pay tax on a house you bought in Holland with Dutch guilders, Dutch euros, whatever. Yeah, if you go
Listen, it's the American way. It's the American way. Much better to lay claim, much better to impose taxes on people who don't live in the country and can't vote, right?
Yeah, you get nothing from the United States. I'm not allowed to vote. There's no protection from the USA. So why? Why do you want my taxes? What did you do for me? Nothing.
That's exactly why they want the taxes, because they're not going to do anything for you. Much better to just extract. But this is unreal. And I've got to congratulate you and thank you on behalf of all of these, which probably millions of the people in the world who are somehow subject to this claim that they should be filing U.S. taxes only because they were born in the U.S. or because they had a U.S. citizen parent. I mean, it's basically, it's unjust. It's inhumane. People don't choose where they're born, and they don't choose who their parents are.
It's like now we call accidental Americans. Like, oh, we are born by accident. No, we're not born because my parents, they loved me. I'm not accident that I was born there. So
Well, that's true. And in fact, I suspect there are very, very few babies who were born in the world with the express purpose of them being born American citizens.
yeah,
Even in the United States, do you think that pregnant women in the United States during their pregnancy think, thank God, I'm going to make sure I stay in the United States to make sure that my baby is born as an American citizen?
I wish I was still 17 years old and I was able to renounce without any problem. I would love to do it because I don't think it's so cool anymore to be a U.S. citizen anymore.
No,
not.
it's not. It's not. The demand to renounce U.S. citizenship is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And there is, interestingly, a lawsuit that was started by the Association of Accidental Americans, I believe is a French-based organization, which is aimed primarily at the renunciation fee. But the U.S. government, interestingly, in its response, has made the claim that there is no constitutional right to renounce U.S. citizenship.
But
now, that's a subject for a different podcast, but that is huge. That is absolutely huge.
It's by bending,
so let's get
they're bending the rules, they're bending the law only their way. And how can you, as a private citizen, how can you fight the big governments? You can't.
Well, that's exactly right. You can't. But I think that it's hard to fight and win, but sooner or later, the cumulative effect of these fights may make a difference. And certainly the kind of activism, commitment, honor, and courage that you have exhibited is very, very likely to make a difference. So, you should be proud of what you've done. But okay, so what you did then, so we've got the context of the problem. So as I understand it, you went to basically the government authorities in your own country, okay, to try to get a remedy and explain the situation. So can you take us through that a little bit? What did you do?
It is so funny you ask that, because you think that you are really protected by all these institutions which is put up by our government. I'll give you a few examples. It's called the DPA, that is in Holland is the Authority of Personal Data. It's like the Dutch Protection Authority, which should protect you about all your data which is being transferred to the United States. We filed a complaint with them. They answered us and said, listen, it's complicated. We don't have the experience. We don't have the people. So we have to train the people, and it will take a lot of time. It's too costly. We don't do it. So nothing. Then we go to the Dutch Authority of the Financial Markets. So listen.
Okay, so sorry, the first one, that was the GDPR, if I got that right.
No, it was the DPA. It's a Dutch Protection Authority.
Okay, a Dutch one only. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, so they were not responsive. Then?
No, then we went to the Dutch Authority for the Financial Markets. We laid down a complaint there as well. And they say, I received it, we take it. So thank you for informing about us. And if you have more of kind of these complaints, we'll take action. I have 5 same emails received from them to another person. The only thing what happened is the header is changed. In my header, it's Mr. Ariës. In the second, complete the same letter is someone else. And still they say, we only receive 1. So what they do, in fact, is they divide and rule. As long as there's only a few, we don't take action. So again, nothing happens. Then I went to the National Ombudsman. I don't know if you know, they should be independent and impartial institution. I think you have the same in the United States.
Well, there's one in Ontario, Canada, where I live. I know in a general sense what they're for.
Yeah. So what they do, they said, okay, we called them and said, listen, we have this problem. They said, no, we're only here if there is a problem between citizens and the government. Not you have a problem with the bank. Now listen, they said, the government, they told the banks to enforce Fatca on us. So in fact, it's the government we have a good problem with.
Absolutely.
No, it's not. That's not. So also 0 at our request. And then we ask, okay, we go to the human rights. Now they told us this will last for years. So I suspect that maybe I'm already dead before they take action. So there's also zero. So in fact, in short, there's no institution that will help us because they think it is so complicated. They're afraid of bullying America. So yeah, we're back to base to base one and just do it yourself.
Okay, so to put it another way, right? So you go to all of these institutions, government institutions in your country, and you get no help whatsoever.
Correct.
So would you agree with me if I were to make the statement that what Fatca is doing is forcing other countries to simply wage war against a subset of their own citizens, to persecute a subset of their own citizens at the request of the government of the United States? Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, and I give you an example. I had to look up the word. You know, the bascule, like a weighing scale. It's like this. On one you have Fatca, which is completely very heavy on the down, and the other one you have the PAD, the GPR, the WFT, the Constitutional Human Rights, whatever. They don't mind. It's only Fatca. So it's a third country rule or law which is exposed on all the Europeans, which should be protected by other laws and regulations, but they don't use it. It's only one. It's Fatca, and we have to deal with it. Now, I don't think that was possible, but it is. So far as now.
I think you're absolutely right, because what Fatca is, among other things, is a deliberate, gross, egregious violation of the sovereignty of other countries, because at its core, what the agreements have done, the intergovernmental agreements, these countries have agreed to specifically change their local laws to override the basic privacy, lack of discrimination rights that their countries provide to anybody now, unless, and this is what's interesting, unless the United States claims they're a US citizen. Because another interesting aspect of the IGAs is that by signing those IGAs, these countries have agreed to allow the United States, in its sole discretion, to determine who is or is not a US citizen. So theoretically, the United States could take the following position: everybody in the world is a US citizen or taxpayer, and everybody right around the world, if these, to the extent these countries have signed the IGAs, could wake up being subject to this problem. It's an inconvenient and unpleasant truth, and these countries, they have two options. They either need to fight back and stick up for their citizens, or they can solve their problem by applying to become territories of the United States so that they're no longer foreign.
Yeah.
But they can't, they cannot, it seems to me, continue the kind of inaction that they're doing in this particular case.
With all these governments, we have also a constitution. Article 1 in Holland is to serve and protect your citizens. You just throw it overboard. They don't care. And the IGAs they discussed, it's like, I was thought it's just like a pipeline. It's like a gas line or whatever it is. Okay, we made an agreement, but if America would change their tax laws, that is on top of the IGA. So if America will change their law, the tax laws, we have to submit also with that. So it will never end.
That's absolutely right. But the way they seem to be interpreting it is, so you look at your Constitution, Article 1, a country has the duty to protect its citizens. What they're really doing is saying that if somebody's a US citizen, they've effectively stripped you of your Dutch citizenship, haven't they?
Yeah, but still I have my passport. I can show you. So I don't know. I still have it. Fortunately, I'm still Dutch.
Well, you have a Dutch passport, but the government is saying in this context that, well, if the US claims you're an American citizen, then you can't be a Dutch citizen for the purposes of these protections, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's it's really unbelievable. And you can ask me, okay, what is happening to us? What in Holland? The stress building, it's enormously. People are really, we don't know anymore where we can go to, where we can. I had to go to courthouse. I lost. on so let's say on 2 of the 3 complaints.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So you went to court, and this was written up in the American Expat Financial Journal and other places. What happened?
I just go one step back. I went to an institution like it's called KIVIT, which is in fact being paid by the financial institutions. If you have a problem with the bank or an insurance company, you have to go to KIVIT and you can lay down your complaint over there. I was invited to a hearing and I was sitting there, and the only problem that was arising there is that the judge asked me, why are you not asking for a TIN number? What's the problem with that? I said, okay, if you will be in my situation, would you do the same? Yeah, but that's not a problem here. You're sitting over there. So yeah, okay. So listen, because I don't know where it's ending, and I'm very upset with this. Also, with all the data breaches nowadays, I don't know what's going to happen with all my data. So I'm refusing to cooperate with this. And I was sitting there with one lawyer, and then next to me it was the bank. There were about 3 lawyers of them. You were sitting with one lawyer. I couldn't find big lawyer firms to help me out. I even cannot pay them, but I found a lawyer. She was very willing to, and she was already really involved in Fatca. She was interested in Fatca. So I saw her on the blog, said, hey, listen, I'm going to ask her if she can assist me. But the banks, you know, they have so much money, so much force, also being given by the governments. So I was sitting there, I'm going to lose this. And the thing is that they had the verdict, and I think the most terrible thing is that they accused me for forgery, because I put down the question, are you, besides the Dutch, also a tax resident in another country? I said no, but I should, according to the banks, I should have been stipulating yes. Because I didn't do that.
Nobody can even understand the question.
No.
Who in their right mind, who's lived their whole life in Holland?
Imagine that you will be accused from forgery.
No, that's absolutely insane. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. So fortunately, the judge said, okay, because this has happened, I was accused for forgery. I was accused for money laundering. I was accused by tax evasion because I didn't did the tax compliance with the United States. So on 3 cases, I had to go to court.
What a joke. Yeah, what an absolute joke.
And I went to court and said, listen, I'm going to win this because this is not happening. This is not possible. But yeah, still, there are some in the IGJ woven together with Fatca. The judge said, yeah, listen, I have to look to the law and to the rules. So yeah, they can close your bank account because you're not supplying there with the TIN number. But it was already been given also by our government that it was not required to render in or to submit a TIN number for closing a bank account. But the banks still do. Even there is a kind of range of $50,000 or something. If you have less on the bank account than that, there will be no problem in getting a bank account. But still, banks are just refusing people with, let's say, $10,000 a bank account, because at the moment, if you enter a bank, you say, listen, I'm a US person, all the bells go off, and the doors are closing. Woo, woo, woo. No, you won't get any cooperation anymore.
So well, you know, the United States certainly has gone a long way in destroying the value of US citizenship. There's no question. I mean, do you realize that? You know, I was thinking about this the other day, that US citizenship is probably the only citizenship in the world where there are actually strong incentives to renounce it. Yeah. There is no other citizenship in the world where you have to wake up every day and literally fear being a citizen of that country.
No. Oh, yeah, I have been in Africa. I've seen people suffer over there. What's happening? But these people are still happy because they don't wonder what's going to happen to them. They live today, and they will see what's happening tomorrow. But we, as Europeans, or like in the United States, we always think ahead. Is that a good life? I don't think so. I think that in Africa, the people have a much better life. They don't have so much worries as we have. We laid it upon us ourselves. So we did it ourselves. All these big houses and all these things. I've seen all these changes. You know what's happening. But
certainly the best. You know, yeah. My personal definition of wealth has evolved to the following. Wealth means being able to live happily on small amounts of money. That's what wealth is.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about the tax authorities and being accused of being an American citizen or,
I
you know,
have
any of
no
these.
problems. I have no problems in paying tax in the country where I live and where I work and whatever. No problem, because they give me facilities over here. But imagine, because they still claim they're going to close my bank account in the 1st of October this year. Imagine not having a bank account. I said, how can I pay my mortgage? I cannot, because I asked already, can I pay my mortgage cash? No, you cannot pay it cash. So I said, how long will it take before you take my house? Yeah, you get, I think, 3 times a reminder, and if you don't pay,
No, well, that's right, exactly, and that's why this is. I mean, you're very, very correct in that this is not just an issue. You can talk about banking access as though, well, so what if you don't have a bank account? I mean, in the modern world, you can't survive without a credit card, a bank account, a credit rating, any of these types of things. So the point is that what the United States is doing, plainly and simply, is destroying the lives of honest individuals who are doing nothing but trying to live a normal life in the country where they live and are tax residents. That's what the United States is doing with this.
yeah, yeah.
And of course, they're not responsive to change,
No.
at least so far. Well, what's the next step? Where are you with this now? So you are you're actually a world symbol for freedom and justice at this point.
I'm still working with my lawyer on a court case. We go to the higher court, but it is, of course, very complicated. There's also a group, the Dutch American Accident Americans Association. I am in close contact with them because they think me that I am the bowman for this organization. They are there on a confined Facebook page, and there are a lot of people which are members of that Facebook. And so they also put down a petition in the European Parliament, but that take a long time. And also they try to go to a lawyer, and they're asking to a bona fide. No, it's not a bona fide; it's a pro bono lawyer. And they said, okay, we're going to find lawyers for you, but they cannot find lawyers because all these big companies who are able to provide pro bono lawyers, they work for the banks. So they will never.
Yeah. I mean, they're conflict. Well, it's a horrible problem. But another problem, I think, is this, and I'd be interested in your comments. You earlier you talked about a lot of the people being in hiding. I don't think that if you're in hiding, you can really, contribute very effectively to fighting this stuff. I mean, I think it requires people like yourself who said, "Hi, my name is Ronald Ariës, and this is wrong, and I'm taking a principled stand on this, no matter what anybody thinks." I think, it's got to be people like you. I don't think it works, although I understand why people hide. Totally, I understand it. But the problem is, if you're hiding, it's very hard to, become part of the critical mass of people who are willing to change this. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree, because I have close contact with those people who say, listen, I'm scared. And as long as they don't give me such a letter, I'll see what happens. And hopefully you will taken out, I don't know what the expression in the United States or Canada, the hot coils out of the chimney, you burn your hands for us, and then maybe the problem is solved. They are really.
That's right. We're going to rely on you. We're going to rely on you to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But somebody got to do it. And you think that
you're absolutely right. Somebody's got to do it. And, the reason, I think in part, is that you're doing it. I mean, you're clearly a good man, but also, you've retired relatively recently, so you're probably in a position to do it, at least as much as anybody is.
Yeah, that is also one of the things. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So there, this was your purpose. I mean, you may have had a good time, flying those DC-10s and these Airbuses around the world, but your true mission and purpose in life is now.
It's my let's say my third mission in my life is, first you educate yourself, then you work, and then you retire and enjoy. But so far, I cannot enjoy for my retirement, because every day I'm working on this unbelievable Fatca thing.
So how do you work on it though? I mean, you say every day. What do you do?
I try to read as much as possible what's going on. Also, I have contact with expats from the United States, which have the same problem in living in Europe. They cannot do their business. Just now was also, but there was a Dutch lady. She was also born in the United States. She sold her company already because she's afraid to pay a tax about her company to the United States. So that means that also, okay, she sold her company. She had about 3 or 4 people employed. So let's say she would stop. That means that 3 or 4 other people are also hurt by Fatca.
Absolutely.
They don't care.
You know, Fatca is a brutal, unprincipled, unprovoked, and unjustifiable assault on the sovereignty of other countries. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
No. But the thing is also with, like, if I have no bank account any longer, I cannot pay my health insurance anymore. Also not for my partner, which happens to be, and she has metastatic breast cancer. So who's going to pay for her healthcare then?
Oh my God.
I cannot pay it because I have no bank account anymore. So find a solution. Yeah, just cooperate with the United States what they want. Give in.
It's simply impossible.
It's impossible, because
it's simply impossible. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's the thing.
And okay, let's say they take in my bank account, and I'm at 65, and it's now 67. I'll get a kind of, like a retirement pension thing, of which is you paid your whole working years to the government, and you get a very low amount, but you have to have your own bank account, otherwise they don't give you the money. So how do I get it in the black paper or in the brown paper envelope or so? They're going to bring me here at the doorpost? I don't know. I don't think they'll do it, but I am entitled to get that money.
Yeah. Huge problem. You know, just don't get caught up in this so much that you can't enjoy any aspects of life anymore. Very important. I mean, look at it this way. You're retired, you're in your early 60s, you're obviously in great health, you're passionate, you're articulate. They'll never be able to take that away from you, no matter what.
No.
And that's
they're not going to take away my pride. Really.
Absolutely.
I'm so proud. If I still remember the face of my father when I succeeded to become a pilot, because he was also flying. I said, wow. And he was so, I even gave him, when he passed away, I gave him a picture of me together in uniform in his coffin. So proud he was. And I was also proud of my father. I wish but I can never blame them. So listen, you never told me that this could be happening, because nobody knew. This happened only when it was in, 2013 in Holland, that they're gonna impose the Fatca also on Dutch citizens. And there are so many questions being raised in the Dutch government, and the answers always avoiding, not telling the correct answer, doing nothing.
Well, the way they view it is, it's probably 3 things. I mean, the banks are obviously important institutions with huge political power. They want to protect them to the extent possible.
Yeah.
Secondly, although numerically there's probably a lot of people there affected by it, it's always going to be a minority of the population. Thirdly, I think it's a lot easier to see discrimination against Americans as not really discrimination. Which I think is an interesting sort of subtext to the whole problem. And fourthly, governments by their very nature don't function very well to do the things they're supposed to do. I mean, they have their own self-interest, and, that's kind of where it goes. But here's the thing, okay? With this kind of injustice, sooner or later, it will change. As long as there are people like you who continue the good fight here and the important fight. And that's what you're doing. You're a good man. You actually, by getting this on the radar, have accomplished far more than I think you may imagine. And certainly, I think on behalf of the people of the world affected by this, I mean, I would like to thank you very much for your efforts and encourage you to keep up the great work.
Yeah, I'll try to do my utmost best.
All right. Well, you have been doing a great job. Okay, so I'm speaking with Ronald Ariës, the retired Dutch pilot, at least that's how he is identified in the media, who has taken the accusation of US citizenship very personally and has taken the fight against Fatca probably further than any single individual on the planet. And I hope you continue. So thank you very much, Ronald, for speaking with me today.
Thank you, John, for having me.
And let's pick this up again at a future date.
Yeah, and maybe day without Fatca, with real freedom.
Imagine a world that you should write a blog or an article towards a Fatca-free world.
Yeah, unbelievable. Eh?
It is.
You know how high I will jump. This will happen. Yeah.
All right. This is great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.